Let's talk about blood sugar and things that we can do in our wellness program to maintain healthy blood sugar. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke, and this is Minke Wellness. We've been working this month on blood and lymph, and we've already talked about the carrying capacity of the blood delivering nutrients, right? We want to flood the body with nutrients. But in the area of blood sugar, we can actually flood the body with too much. There are some things too much is not good. And so in the case of blood sugar, the body it works very hard and diligently to maintain a very narrow range of blood sugar or sugar in the bloodstream. And there's good reasons for this. Mainly that it's an osmotic, it's a compound that will end up changing the concentration of water. And so when you get too much sugar in the blood, it pulls water out of the tissues. It hurts the kidneys as they're trying to maintain water balance. It kind of chokes, and actually, if you get a lot of blood sugar, too much sugar, it will actually start thickening, and get gooey and sticky. So we don't want gooey, sticky blood. We don't want to mess up our water balance. We don't want these things. So we definitely want to maintain a healthy blood sugar. And we can have, the body can have issues having too little blood sugar. So there's issues of too little blood sugar or too much blood sugar. So, let's see what are the things that we can do in our wellness program to encourage or help the body help maintain a healthy levels of blood sugar. So first of all, blood sugar, of course, is for the most part, it's connected to diet, it's connected to what we eat. If we eat sugar, that sugar runs right into the bloodstream. So we need to talk about what happens, and this kind of goes outside of the blood a little bit. We'll go into the pancreas and insulin and things like this, insulin response. But we need to have let's see what happens here. So first of all, we are highly, highly tuned to sugar. When we eat something, we can immediately taste sugar, which is why the industrial, commercial food processing, commercial products are all loaded with sugar, because we taste sugar, we're geared for sugar, and we start absorbing sugar immediately in the mouth. So we really are wired for sugar, because that's, it's a very important part of our energy system. The problem is when we eat simple sugars, what's called simple sugars, those sugars race right into the bloodstream too quickly. They go quickly into the bloodstream. The blood sugar rises. The pancreas panics and says, "Oh my gosh, wait a minute! We've got too much blood sugar. We need to produce some insulin to force that that sugar out of the blood." Well, where does it go? We're not just, it doesn't just evaporate, right? Well, the insulin, any cells that have insulin receptors, which all cells in the body have insulin receptors, but some cells have more insulin receptors than others. But those cells that have insulin receptors will open up their gates and say, "Come on in, sugar, come on in." And so what happens when sugar goes into the cell? Well, the cell now, it says, okay, we're going to feed the cell, and the system is going to gear up for energy production. So it increases the energy in the cell. Well, normally that's a good thing, right? And actually we feel that when we eat sugar, drink sugar, sugary stuff, boom, we get a buzz, we get that thing. And that's all the energy system of the body increasing. Here's the problem. If we don't really have an energy need, in other words, if it's not necessary, that we don't have a particular need for that energy, then we're in a high energy state and we don't really need it. So now we're agitated. We also are driving mitochondrial production inside the cell, which increases oxidative stress. So we're actually damaging the machinery inside the cell, because we're just cranking, and the cell is running without any real use. It doesn't doesn't have any particular purpose for it. Now, in other words, it's just really unnatural. It's a very unnatural situation for us to have a race, have all this simple sugar, refined sugar rushing into the bloodstream. It's just not how we're designed. There's another caveat to this, and that is there are some cells that eat more sugar than others, and the brain is one of those, which is why we get a buzz, we get this little wake up. In the initial phase, and then a lot of times you get a crash and all that, but that's later. So the brain will absorb more sugar, will eat up more sugar. The fat cells will eat up more sugar. And if there are any running around in your body, cancer cells will eat up more sugar. So we definitely don't want an insulin spike. We don't want we don't want the situation where the blood the blood sugar goes high, the pancreas responds with a high insulin response, and then whoosh, we get these the message, absorb sugar. Everyone needs to absorb sugar. We've got too much sugar in the bloodstream. We would much better to have that very balanced, regulated. A little bit of blood sugar goes in, a little bit of insulin response, a very managed, balanced kind of scenario where we don't ever have a spike. Okay, and that's really where diet can make a huge difference in terms of how much of a spike. So that's called glycemic index when you get this spike of sugar, and that spike of sugar is very, very unhealthy. We don't want that at all. It feeds fat cells, so if you're trying to lose weight, you definitely don't want a sugar spike. If you've got a situation with you've got active cancer, you definitely don't want a sugar spike. Okay, these are things that are very important. If your brain is too agitated, you don't want a sugar spike. So if you have a child that's brain is too agitated, you definitely want to get them off of those simple sugars so they don't have this constant brain stimulation which has nowhere to go. It's just going too much. They've also talked about long-term with this. They talked about that the sugar damages the brain. When we push sugar into the brain, again, it stresses out the cellular mechanisms. The water is out of balance. The sugar molecules get oxidized and get sticky, and they end up creating damage in the brain. So, this whole thing about sugar is really an important part about our wellness, and we need to take charge of that. Okay, so one of the things we can do in our diet is we can take charge of the sugar by, one, not eating simple sugars. And I know that's kind of down the road in our wellness package, but right now we can, that's something you just want, and you already know this, stop eating refined sugar, okay? And I'm not saying you can't ever have a brownie, but if you're going to make your own brownies, cut the sugar in half, cut the sugar content in half, and then use an unrefined sugar, something organic, unrefined. It should be kind of a light brown type of color typically, or something, not pure white. That white sugar. Never again buy white sugar. White sugar is a chemical. You can use it as a chemical for some chemical project or project you're doing, but don't ever eat it. It's not a food. Just white table sugar. Just get rid of it. Okay, so other high glycemic foods. You can watch for those. Just refined foods. Refined foods are all high glycemic. They rush sugar into the bloodstream, and of course we like this. We like this feeling, or at least we think we do. But if you're going to be well, you need to learn to start regulating that and get that under control. Now, one of the things that you can do is eat a balanced diet, which means you always eat fat and protein with your sugar. And so fat and protein will help slow down the metabolism of sugar, and you can start to get a more regulated, the sugar leaks into the bloodstream much more balanced. Also, of course, if you're not eating simple sugars, they're not rushing in. But fat, protein, and fiber. Fiber will slow down your transit of sugar into the bloodstream. So again, these are just when you eat a more complicated diet, more rounded diet, and it kind of ends up being basically, like a macrobiotic diet, a zone diet. You can look at a number of different ways to do this. Low carb, I wouldn't go so extreme low carb for a long time, but sort of most of the time when you go low carb, you cheat enough to actually get what's called a zone diet. Most people who consider themselves to be a low carb diet, they're really not eating a low carb diet. They're just eating much more balanced because they're cheating a lot, and they think they're not, but when you actually look at it, they're cheating. So that's fine. Cheat on your low carb diet, and then you'll be about right. So what can we do in terms of breathing and being aware of this? And I think this is where we can start participating with breath and with some awareness. Of course, we need to take care of our diet. It's not enough just to say, okay, I'm going to eat whatever I want, and then I'm going to use my breathing to help me. But we can start getting in touch with this. Okay, so as I breathe in, we've already talked about making connection to the sugar. So breathe into the bloodstream, and I'm going to specifically breathe into the sugar. Right now, I've just eaten dinner about an hour ago, so I've got plenty of blood sugar running in. But I also ate a very balanced, pinto beans and rice, and so this was, it's a very, protein and fiber rich. It's going to be a slow process of getting sugar into the bloodstream. So that sugar is running in the bloodstream, and I really want to celebrate that because sugar in the bloodstream is the stuff of life. It's the energy. We don't want to be cursing it. We want to bless the sugar in our bloodstream. So breathing in and giving thanks to the sugar in the bloodstream. and the sweetness of life. Okay, some people make an emotional connection to the sweetness of life. And if people sometimes, if you have something that's out of balance in the body, we can sort of make an emotional connection to that. And one thing with blood sugar is that you don't feel like you have enough sweetness in life, so the blood sugar has to go up. I know it's kind of a stretch, but if you move along with that, sort of emotional connections, it's a reasonable thing. And so celebrating the sweetness of life. And just really being happy with my body and feeling the grateful for the food that I have and for the body that I have, and breathing in that gratitude and circling it back, going through the whole body with that. So that's one thing that we can do to start getting a good relationship with our body. A lot of times, when especially on issues that if we're trying to lose weight and we have trouble with balancing our keeping our sugar intake balanced, and then we feel deprived as soon as we start thinking about eating differently, and oh my gosh, and now I go into this big spiral, complicated thing, and it's all this emotional relationship with food. And so I really need to I can, in this case, work with breath to give me a more balanced, healthy relationship with food, with gratitude to my body for its food processing, and have it enjoy the other stuff. So that's why in the first part about breathing carrying capacity, I really wanted you to feel the fat and the protein and the minerals that are also in the bloodstream, because that's all part of this food. We tendency to just focus on the quick taste situations, right? The salt and the sugar and the things that we taste a lot, and then we ignore the rest of it. But if we get a chance to really pay attention to this and you start to appreciate, then you actually start to connect a little bit better with the food that you're eating, and then with how it affects in your body, and feeling gratitude for the rest of that. So I'm going to connect to that sugar, and I'm going to give thanks to my pancreas. We're going to get into pancreas and stuff in the digestive system, but for the moment, I'll just reach down somewhere in the middle here, above the. You can't see me here, but it's above the belly button, somewhere in the middle. It's just put it somewhere in the middle. I'll give you a diagram later. And pat the tummy. Hey, thank you, pancreas, for doing a good job. Okay, and allowing that sugar to come gently into my body tissues, and feel how it vitalizes my muscles, and vitalizes my organs and my brain, and the blood sugar that comes up, and you can even feel it in the eyes, and my eyes get brighter actually when I encourage the eyes to utilize their blood sugar. And so as I go through and I kind of just feel that beautiful balanced energy moving into the tissues and giving it vitality and a little bit of energy boost. Okay. Now, if you have extra blood sugar, what happens to it? Typically, it gets stored in fat cells. Well, it also has to get stored in the liver as glycogen. So I could send it to the liver. If my glycogen stores are already full, then I'm going to have to send it to the fat, and that's really the best place for it. So I'm going to pat my liver. We'll do a lot more on liver next month, and let my liver do its thing for the blood sugar, and then be aware of the fat cells. Say, okay, thank you, fat cells, because I know that you're there for a purpose, to house and hold extra sugar. And if I start to breathe into that fat and get to know that fat, then if I'm on a diet and my body starts complaining that the sugar, I don't have enough sugar, I'm hungry. Now, if I've actually made a good relationship with my fat, I could say, hey, fat cells, you know what? You've got some extra. Maybe you could give a little bit back, and metabolize some of that and get some of that sugar back into the bloodstream, so that the rest of us could feel a little bit like, we've got the abundance going on. We don't want only the fat cells to feel abundant, right? So I'm serious about this. This is all about relationship with our body and consciousness, okay? So what we're doing here, and this is just some little awareness about diet and wellness when in context of blood sugar. And so can we breathe to help get in touch with blood sugar, be a little bit more gracious, more gratitude, and then know how that works in the body. We'll probably do another lesson on this with blood sugar, because it's a pretty complicated issue, and a lot of people are maybe have challenges in this area. But for now, let's kind of get a better relationship with blood sugar, with the system that we've got working, and get a handle on the diet as it pertains to that, if you're one of those that struggles to try to maintain healthy blood sugar. Otherwise, we've got a great opportunity in blood sugar to feel that vitality, that energy, and the zing that comes into our life. Okay? Happy wellness. We'll see you tomorrow.